open this meeting up to the public now?
Yeah, we're starting to go live.
Okay. Okay, are we live now?
Yes.
All right, very good. I want to thank everyone for joining our inaugural meeting of the Maryland House Rural Caucus, and I'm joined by Delegate Ziegler as co-chair. Um, and unfortunately, this morning she's having some internet problems, and hopefully that'll get resolved, and she'll be on pretty soon. But we don't want to. We want to get started on time with these meetings, so that way, because we only have an hour, and we'll be meeting every Tuesday at 8 a.m. And what we're going to try to do is leave 5 or 10 minutes at the end of each meeting for the public. And if anyone would like to speak in any of these meetings, please email or call either Delegate Ziegler's office or mine, and we'll make sure that we get you guys on the agenda. And so today we have with us Secretary Addix. Thank you for joining us. And if you wanted to make any comments to start, we also have Mako and a rural affiliate along with the Maryland Farm Bureau today as well. So there are obviously the biggest stakeholders, in our rural areas, and we do have a very good partnership with Department of Ag, and also our local governing bodies and the Maryland Farm Bureau. So, Secretary Addix, if you would join us, if you had any comments for us.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much for this opportunity. I just wanted to uh, congratulate you and Delegate Ziegler for the appointments and commend the Speaker for taking this pretty monumental step. When you think about Maryland and the riches that are provided by our rural lands and our waters, it is so important. This caucus is such an important tool and an important venue, and will become a critical voice in ensuring that our rural areas and their issues are represented at the highest levels, and prioritized at the highest levels. Uh, Many of the challenges that we see facing urban areas are also faced by rural areas. And while the problems and issues and concerns may be similar, the solutions can vary quite greatly. And so it is important to, as we're talking about uh, hunger and food insecurity, as we're talking about access to healthcare, as we're talking about energy needs, as we're talking about jobs and the need to support commerce in the state, as we talk about tourism, as we talk about, all of the different challenges and opportunities. Um, I think, I know we can find really unique solutions to support rural Maryland. And so I'm heartened by the formation of this caucus, and will commit that our department and a number of others who have direct nexus points to rural will be partners in this effort. So again, thank you, and we stand to support the effort. Mr. Chair, you're still on mute.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Yeah, we're very thankful for the Speaker establishing this caucus, and as we all know, with 18, 19 jurisdictions out of the 24 are rural. And unfortunately, we make up less than a third of the population, and the challenge, and it's a political reality. We understand that going in, coming from the rural areas, that our voice isn't as loud as the larger jurisdictions like Montgomery and Prince George's, but they also have the rural areas too. And it's even to the urban counties. Being rural is not unique to them either. We have one of the, I think Montgomery County has the most or second most preserve and ag preserve land in the entire state. So this caucus, will impact hopefully every jurisdiction across the entire state. So, and I know Baltimore City, they're doing a lot of work in regards to some urban agriculture and so like rooftop agriculture and that sort of thing too. So there's a lot going on, and this is all sort of intertwined. So I think that the voice from the Rural Caucus hopefully will mean something when it comes to public policy. So next we have Mako somewhere. I think is Kevin
Yep.
on the call or
I don't know if Kevin is. I'm over here, Jeff.
Oh, okay,
Jack.
awesome. Yeah, we have Jack
So,
Wilson. He's the Commissioner of Queen Anne's County, former past president of Mako, and also very active. And Mako has a rural affiliate. A lot of people didn't realize that. It was started maybe 15, 20 years ago. And it's the affiliate is very active within Mako. And we're very curious to see what you guys have been working on, what you guys are looking at this session, and if there's anything that Rural Caucus can do to help you guys out, any.
sure. Thank you, Jeff. Congratulations. To echo the Secretary's comments, I believe this caucus in Annapolis is long overdue. As you stated, Mako has had this Rural County Coalition going on 15 years this year. I've been a part of it now this is my 11th year. And also with me, I have Lenny Pfeffer from Dorchester County, who's the co-chair of the caucus, and is also our Mako first vice president, in line to be president next year to keep it rural. So I would love to work with you guys. I think this is going to be a great partnership. Just as a heads up, we meet every Monday night during session. We met last night for the first night, and we got to entertain 62 bills that we as Mako's rural group see that could affect us and the rural counties in general. And obviously, the big counties get lumped in there. As Secretary said, there are a lot of rural areas in the larger counties. And our group consists of 16 counties. I know, Mr. Chair, you had said 18. I'm not sure what other two. I'm assuming probably Frederick County and maybe Hartford got lumped in, but Mako sees them as large counties. We primarily have the 9 counties of the shore, 3 western, 3 southern, and Carroll County on the split side of Frederick that is part of our coalition at Mako. Again, we meet every Monday night. We come in as a group. For those that don't know, Mako votes 1 county, 1 vote. So the Rural County Coalition can really be a major part of steering Mako's opposition or support of bills that come through the legislature that would affect county autonomy. And as a group, we stand for just that, county autonomy. We stand on the premise that if no unfunded mandates, and we can't highlight that enough, we are firm believers in if you want to make legislation, one size doesn't fit all, make it enabling legislation, allow the counties to make that choice moving forward. And so in a nutshell, yeah, that's about it. And we do look forward to working with you guys. If you can, we may be able to get one of the chairs to tune into our Monday night meetings to chime in on any of the issues that we take up on a weekly basis, because we then meet on Wednesdays and do at our legislative committee, which Lenny will be chairing this year, to basically formulate Mako's stances on the different issues as they arise. So that's all I got for right now, unless you got any questions for me or Lenny.
Mr. Chair, this is Delegate Hutchinson. I do have a question.
Okay.
So when you said you meet on Mondays, is that just your rural coalition, or Mako meets on Mondays? And B, are those open to the delegates and to the public?
So we meet on Monday as a rural coalition. We do a Zoom call from 6 to 7 Monday nights. Mako meets as a group on Wednesday at 10 o'clock for the legislative committee. I have to check on the availability. In the past, we've had delegates for specific topics come in and brief us on stuff, but I got to find, it's not open to the public by no means, but I think if there were specific topics that you wanted to weigh in on or had an opinion on, then I think we can entertain that, but I will verify that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, does anyone else have any comments for Jack or Commissioner Wilson? Are you guys tracking any bills yet, or any pieces of legislation I know the governor has, the one that could potentially take away some zoning?
Is that
authority.
the silver? Is that the silver?
No, it's not solar. It's a housing bill.
So this was a house. This is a housing bill we just weighed in on, and actually will take a position tomorrow, which was I think it's the Silver Star. Lenny, correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember the bill number, but it was like the Silver Star something housing. But yes, and there were concerns about that one in terms of stepping on local zoning for sure.
Right. And I
So
talked to Kevin Canale last week, and I think that Mako's trying to carve out an exemption for rural
yes.
county, I believe. So that'll be great if you guys can do that. And I think that if they can take that amendment, then I'm pretty sure that it'll be well supported across the state. So
Yeah, and actually, just to speak on that as a broader sense, so the housing bill that's coming out, we all know that's coming. There's going to be kind of a bunch of moving parts and pieces to that. Is the rural counties, even in last year's bill, we took the stance that the bill that was put forward didn't affect the rural counties until it did affect the rural counties, which was the vesting and things like that, where you actually stepped on the county's ability to move projects forward or halt projects or steer projects in a different direction. And that's when the rural counties really got involved, and MACO stepped up their involvement in the bill at the 11th hour. And hopefully there was a lot of meetings over the summer. Hopefully we'll avoid some of that stuff. But again, we're still going to stand firm on not giving up local autonomy and, local zoning control. So.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to say I'm so sorry for jumping on late. I was having internet problems, and I'm so glad to be here and to welcome everybody to our first actual meeting.
very good. So if no one else has any other questions, we'll certainly be tracking the same bills that you guys are. And we know that for our local jurisdictions, both, county and municipal, having that identity, and that's one of the wonderful things about Maryland is we're so diverse. And when you go across the state, there's a huge difference, between Salisbury or Chesapeake City or Cumberland or Leonardtown, and what makes them so distinct as far as their identity is local control. It is that zoning. It is the ability for the local people to decide for themselves how they want their communities to look. And if we want to continue, moving forward in Maryland and have that distinct identity, all across the state, it's important that you guys maintain, that level of control with your with zoning. So. Very good. And so next we have the Maryland Farm Bureau. Tyler, is Tyler on? Tyler Huff.
I see him. Did I see him?
Yep, he's there.
Yeah.
Yep. So Tyler, can you tell us what you guys are working on? I know every year it seems like you guys have a full plate. What you all
It's always a full plate, but want to start by echoing the Secretary's comments and congratulations to you, Mr. Chair, and Delegate Ziegler as co-chairs of the Royal Caucus, and want to sing our praise to the newly elected Speaker on her fortitude to go ahead and put this committee and put this caucus together. I think it's going to be big things to come out of this, and we look forward to working with this caucus in the future and moving as we go forward this session and years to come. And I actually get to steal one of Secretary Addix's comments. He, for once, did not say that ag is the #1 commercial industry in the state. So I'll steal that comment from him here today. And on that line, Maryland Farm Bureau is fortunate to be the member-driven voice of that #1 commercial industry in the state. We are a nonprofit that has 23 county farm bureaus across the state. Under the Farm Bureau umbrella, there's also the American Farm Bureau Federation, which handles the issues in DC at the federal level, and we get to be the state voice for all those 23 county farm bureaus, grassroots organization, grassroots policy member driven. So we're excited to be that voice at the state level while they are at home working hard, making sure that we're fed, clothed, and even in many cases have the alcohol for it as well. So a couple big things from us. The #1 thing that is top of mind for us this year is going to be funding of essential ag programs such as Max, who took a big cut last year, full cut last year, cover crop and mouth with land preservation, kind of to build off of what Mako said with the importance of preservation there. Those fund programs took huge funding cuts last year, max all the way down to zero. And those programs not only work for the farmer, but they also work for Bay Health. They work for hitting the goals where we can all work together to accomplish that common goal and move forward. So I know with the budget situation this year, it's another concern. And that is certainly top of mind for us, being able to preserve those funding pieces for those essential programs as we go forward. On the same side with preservation and land, we've seen a lot of pressure from land use in general. Our executive director, Parker Welsh, jokes that in the past 3 years as executive director, he's talked more about land use than he had in his 7 years prior here at Maryland Farm Bureau. And it's something new every day for sure. And if you look at the 2022 census numbers, the ag census from USDA, we lost roughly 12 million acres in the state. And that pressure still continues to be a thing between the different goals, renewable energy goals, transmission line goals, housing goals. It's constant pressure on that ag land, and we're seeing that conversion away. So doing what we can to help preserve that ag land, to keep it in production, because that prime and productive soil, once it's gone, we cannot get that prime and productive soil back. And when you have 2% of the country feeding 98% of the country, it's important that we keep every single acre in production that we can. We still understand the need to work to make sure we hit the state goals across the board and do our part, but in that process need to conserve as many acres as we can. And a big piece with that resiliency that we're seeing through the agriculture community, value added and our smaller operations have come on with a big push and a big step to be able to fill some of that gap. And so how resilient farmers are to be able to take those smaller parcels and those more challenging situations and turn into big things. But with how diversified and resilient there's still some work to be done in that aspect. I know Delegate Ziegler and I have talked many times over the years about trying to find the best way to fix the tax assessment issue, which is still a work in progress, but hope that this committee can help bring some more knowledge to the table on that, but as well as some other pieces as far as on-home processing. There's some good bills in this year for on-home processing. There's another one that helps with the septic system, with the portable bathroom issue as well, which was brought forth last year, move forward. There's another bill in this year as well. But continuing with that value added space, continuing to support those is something that's certainly a big piece. And as always, we are here to be a resource for you guys. Do not hesitate to call, text, email me. And before I lose the soapbox, I want to make sure everyone is invited to February 4th at the Governor Calvert House in the morning there. That will be our day in Annapolis this year. We always have a great turnout from this delegation and from this group. So we look forward to seeing all of you again at the Governor Calvert House on February 4th.
Tyler, you mentioned a loss of acreage. Is there a certain, like a time frame that you were referring to with that?
Yep. So in the 2022 U.S. Ag Census, it came out that we lost 12 million acres in Maryland, which I believe that's an every 4 or 5 year census. So within that prior window, the reporting from the 2022 census to, I believe it was either 2017 or 2018 that it was looking back on.
All right. So my follow-up question to that, I know at least on the 9 counties on the Eastern Shore, we're very dependent on the poultry industry, where it's completely integrated, and there's a huge relationship between the grain producers and the poultry industry. And so losing acreage there is very critical, because right now we're still, we're importing corn because we're not growing enough. I know we're exporting soybeans. But I know that at some point there's going to be a threshold where if we continue, it's more expensive to bring it in than it is to grow it ourselves. And there's a threshold at some point where it's going to be cost prohibitive to produce poultry in Maryland. I would assume at some point, and it'd be more cost effective for them to move their operation somewhere else. So that's certainly a threat that we're very concerned about moving forward, and we want to make sure that ag preservation is a priority for us. And the last meeting that we have will be more of environmental issues and also preservation issues. That would be the seventh week into this. So we'll bring some folks in like the Eastern Shoreland Conservancy and others, some environmental groups, and then to talk about that. And that's actually a good segue for we have a guest, our first guest for moving forward is Jay Falstead from Queen Anne's County. I know that he's been very active in making sure that land continues to be preserved. So Jay, did you want to make a few comments?
Just very brief. I am honored to be part of this, and thank you for the invitation, Jeff. What we're looking at is all of the land use bills because they do have an impact to the environment. As you know, a lot of bills are still coming in, so we haven't had a chance to review everything yet. But we'll keep you apprised as things unfold.
Yeah. We also have the chair of the Watermen's Caucus. Obviously, agriculture and the seafood industry are very important to Maryland. I know the Southern Maryland, with aquaculture is a big part of their local economy, and of course, oystering and crabbing is important for the Eastern Shore as well. Delegate Jacobs, did you want to make any comments at all on what you guys might be potentially working on?
Well, thank you, Jeff, and congratulations on the first Rural Caucus meeting this morning. It's good to get a voice, refreshing to get a voice in Annapolis from all of us around the state. And we had our first Watermen's Caucus meeting last night, which was very well attended, and we have representation from DNR also that participates in that. And we talked about. It's very early, as you know, there's only a few bills in so far, and who knows, what's coming. But one of the biggest issues that we've been really involved in this for months now is the baseline realignment portion of Addendum 3 to Amendment 7 of an Atlantic States Marine Fishery, which, as you know, the Atlantic States Marine Fishery really oversees the fishery on the whole East Coast, and striped bass, we're part of that group. So everyone has a vote, and the state of Maryland controls 70 to 90% of the spawning grounds of all rockfish. So, we have a huge dog in the fight, and some of the actions that have been taken in recent years have been very detrimental to the fishery here. There's one out right now that's very concerning, this baseline realignment, which is going to have a huge economic impact, especially to the charter boat industry. As you know, a couple of years ago, they went from 2 rockfish to 1 is all you're allowed to have in your possession, which has taken about 75% of the business away from the charter boat industry. And this baseline realignment will close the entire month of August to recreational fishing in the state of Maryland for striped bass. So that's for everyone, not just charter boats, but everyone. And, the business per se is most robust between the close of the school year and the beginning of school year. So the middle of that whole summer vacation time is obviously the month of August. So this impact, this closure is going to have enormous impact. And I think you'll see many of the charter boat charter boat fleet go out of business completely. They're already down 75% from that 2 to fish 1 drop. And now with this baseline realignment, it's going to be a real economic hit to the state of Maryland. And we teach a lot of people how to fish. We teach young kids for the very first time, families that go fishing. And what I think is going to happen now, what we're concerned about is this is just a ticket to go to New Jersey, and they're never coming back. When you get over there, we lost, enormous amounts of fishermen from the 2 to 1 drop. And now with this baseline realignment, I think people will go to New Jersey. There's probably 6 or 7 species you can target in New Jersey. Whereas Maryland, it's, less, striped bass, catfish, pretty much two primaries, and especially in the northern part of the bay. And if people go to another state and, have a better time, so to speak, there's not going to be any incentive for them to come back to Maryland. And that's the long term, not only short term, but long term. This is going to have a huge economic impact on restaurants, hotels, charter boats. I mean, there's an enormous amount of people that are going to be affected by this. So I hate to be the harbinger of bad
Oh,
news.
no, it's
this
okay.
morning.
Jay, is there a big contingency in Maryland to move this forward as far as these restrictions? Or is this basically the Atlantic and Coastal Bay Commission that's doing
Now,
this?
this was actually up to the state of Maryland. It was part of the addendum, but Maryland had to either move this or not move this. The other part of that addendum was a 12% reduction, which the fishery, the quota in the commercial fishery since 2015 has already been reduced by 45.5%. So if they'd done another 12%, would have been 57.5% reduction in 10 years of the quota. So not only is the commercial guys taking a financial hit, but now the recreational side, which there's roughly 700,000 in the state of Maryland, recreational fishermen, they're going to be grossly affected by it. So imagine 700,000 people that fish in Maryland. That's DNR's numbers. Cannot fish for striped bass, what we're known for in the whole East Coast of America. You can't fish for striped bass for the entire month of August. So just imagine that, financially going forward.
Jay, sorry, Delegate Jacobs, do you have any hard numbers related to this? I mean, it does sound like a tremendous economic impact. And since we have that reduction to look at, it might help us project
Well,
what could be
Delegate
coming down the pike.
Delegate Ziegler, there is a regulation that's out on public comment on Maryland Register right now. Let me see, the number is here it is. 25-328. That's the regulation number. When they introduced it a couple weeks ago, the analysis part was not there. They said the analysis will follow. So, I've said to them through the 4 public comment periods that we had prior to this regulation being promulgated, I said, we need to see the economic impact in detail, not a general, it's going to have substantial impact to small business or little impact, which is what they usually use in regulation to talk about the impact. In this particular case, we need to see a lot of detail because it's not just to the fishermen. It's hotels, it's motels, it's restaurants, it's tackle shops. It's all kinds of people involved in this economic impact. And
Well, it's the state of Maryland.
it is the whole state. I mean, that's what we're known for, is striped bass. I mean, this used to be the rockfish capital of the world. That's what they used to call Maryland in the 70s. And so imagine being the rockfish capital and it's closed for business the whole entire month of August.
Are there any other states on the Atlantic seaboard that are as restrictive as Maryland that you're aware of?
Well, they vary, but in our case, think about you control 70 to 90% of all the spawning stock for the entire fishery for the East Coast. So it's a huge impact. It really is. And what's happened is that the DNR has taken a different stance, a reversal, so to speak, of their view for the last 5 years. The last 5 years, the direction was to protect the brood stock, protect the the cows that lay the eggs, so to speak. and they come up the bay right now. The bay's full of those huge fish right now, in coming up the bay for what we call pre-spawn their stage. And they're coming up here with eggs, that they're going to lay this spring. So the department has gotten away from protecting the brood stock to now their theory is to protect the summer the resident stock, which is a totally different fish, smaller, stays in the bay for 5 years and then migrates out like these bigger ones do. Many of us that have had a lot of experience in the fishery feel this is the wrong direction, that you need to protect the pregnant females that are staging to lay the eggs. That's where the young come from. And what's driven all this, I should really start with what's driven this, is a very poor juvenile index for the last 7 years. So in other words, the young of the year is what's driving this. We have a lot of fish in the bay, but poor recruitment in the juvenile index.
Yeah,
So
part
we
of
need-
that is the
we
catch.
really-
Oh, go ahead.
We really need to understand what's causing that. And there's
Yeah,
not
and we-
much science there.
We still have the catch and release, right, for the cows, the pre-spawn cows. Is that correct in Maryland?
Well,
Is it the same in Virginia or just Maryland?
The new baseline realignment will add 34 more days in the spring to the catch and release. So the month of April used to be closed, and now it's going to be open for catch and release all the way up through June, and then or up to May. I'm sorry, and then the resident fish season begins for hook and line. But at the end in this proposal, there's 34 more days of catch and release. There's 5 less days of actual residential or recreational fishing. In other words, the recreational fishermen will lose 5 days as a result of this proposal. The catch and release season will gain 34 days as a result of this. And a month of the season that used to be closed to protect this brood stock will now be open.
And you guys support closing the catch and release for the brood stock?
Yes.
Okay.
So
And then,
it's a
there's
different
also-
it's a different theory, and it's very concerning when you took 5 years to protect the brood stock and all of a sudden you take a total reversal and go, protect a different group, so to speak.
And there's a correlation too with the rise in the blue catfish population and probably the amount of what did you call them, the fry, the younger
Fingerlings.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm
So
sure that the increase in the blue catfish, especially in the upper bay, has had some impact. There's no question.
Mhm.
But we don't know enough about that, what happens between the time the eggs are laid and the first sane survey is done in June.
Okay.
There's a couple of months goes by there. We don't know what's causing that reduction. Could be predators, could be the bottom, could be the water quality, could be lack of food. There could be a lot of indications, but that's the part we don't know. And so some of us are very concerned with the impact of these radical changes rather than really understanding the science behind why these fingerlings are not surviving.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we certainly need a detailed economic analysis. There's no question about that. Whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing, we need to at least understand what we're doing.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. All right. So this caucus will continuously follow up, certainly with Secretary Addix and Department of Agriculture, Farm Bureau, with what you guys are working on in the Waterman's Caucus. We work very closely with the work that you all are doing as well. Would any of the members of the Rural Caucus, do they have any comments before we move on? Terry, nope. We have Terry Baker with us, Delegate Baker with us as well. All right. So next week on the agenda, we'll have housing. So we'll have the Maryland Builders Association to come in and give us their ideas on what they think is the cause of our housing crisis. And we will also have the Department of Planning. Just to give you guys an idea of the coming weeks. So the week after that, Delegate Hartman, I don't know if you want to make any comments at all in regards to tourism and economic development. He's going to be organizing our February 3rd meeting because tourism is obviously very important to all parts of rural Maryland. Doesn't matter where you live. Delegate Hartman, do you want to make comments at all, or are we good for
Sure.
now?
No,
Okay.
I appreciate the opportunity. Walking up to the office building, so a little chilly. But working on getting Ruth Toomey from Maryland Tourism Coalition, Marcy Ross, the executive director from Commerce, and hopefully the rural DMOs. So we'll keep in touch and look forward to that meeting.
Excellent. Thank you, Delegate Hartman. After that, February 10th is rural health care. February 17th, we're going to take a look at energy. So we'll have PGM and our utilities come in to talk about that. And February 24th, again, we'll touch on the environment and ag preservation and sustainability and that sort of thing in the very last meeting. And then moving forward for the rest of the session, we're just going to be focusing entirely on legislation that's out there. So if anyone on the call, certainly has any legislation that's important to our rural communities, please let us know and allow us to weigh in on that. We'll be very happy to support that. And we're also very confident too that the speaker, because this is our initiative after all, to set up the rural caucus, we're very thankful for that. We think she's going to be very serious about. Doug Hartman just walked in. He must have been running up those stairs. So, but does anybody else for the good of the order want to make any comments or suggestions? Again,
Delegate Jacobs. I'm sorry, and Delegate Grace this morning. I'm still in Waterman's caucus from last night. But what I wanted to do is just give a real update. Last week when our members met, we had talked about the sales and use tax for electricity for farmers. So in doing the research, the bill was introduced in 2022. No traction at that time, but in 2023, I sponsored it as a study where the comptroller's office would have to do the research. So it passed the House, but it didn't get passed through the Senate. So I guess the question would be, do we want to still label it as a study to get some additional traction this year as one of our priorities?
That's an interesting question. That's probably something that we should talk about offline.
Sure.
Because
Absolutely.
I see where you're going. I mean, just in general, I always feel like ask for what you want. You can always get knocked back.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we followed up from last week, and then certainly we can discuss that as members and figure out where we want to go with it. Because I don't want to miss our deadline either to get legislation in.
No, right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, very good. Well, we're very thankful. Secretary Addix, thank you for joining us. Commissioner Wilson, Tyler Huff, we're very thankful for your time this morning. I know 8 a.m.'s a tough meeting to get into. So thank you guys for joining us, and we look forward to working with you throughout session. And thank you everybody for being on the call this morning, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Absolutely. Goodbye, everyone. Sorry for my
Appreciate
late
it.
again. Thank you.
Thank you all.
So on that bill.